The Sons of Jacob, a study in Hebrew names. This is one of the first studies that I did a couple of years ago when I started getting introduced into the Hebrew, and it made a very big difference in as far as the way that I read the Old Testament. Changed everything about the way that I look at. This is one of the arguments, not really an argument, but one of the differences that I see between the Hebrew and the Greek. I tried doing this in the Greek by looking at some of the names, and it didn't work. So obviously there is something to this, but let's get into this. One of the first things that we're going to do, I would like for you to do, is get the file that I put in the file sections, and so basically you have the names, and then you have the ages based on the age of Benjamin. So in other words, Reuben was about 20 years older than Benjamin. So this took 20 years in order for this to flow out. Yeah. That's another timeline that I did that's kind of important. You can see the names of the mothers that are there, and then Jacob's blessing is the fourth column when he blesses each one of them. You can find that there when Moses blesses them before they go into the land of promise in Deuteronomy. You can find those verses there. You see that Simeon is not blessed, and so that's an issue there. And then you have the Strong's numbers. If you have a Strong's book or something, you can look up the names, or you can go to chapters 29 and 30, and then 35 for Benjamin. But you can go to Genesis 29 and 30, and the names will be given to you there. And then when you find them, then write them in the under the name, and then later on I'll give you what the meaning is, or the way that God interprets that. A good word study. You can do this in a church. You'll have to pass the charts out beforehand, but this is one way to get people to fall in love with their Bibles all over again. What I'm telling you as someone that for you, if you're looking into some deep study, if you study the names and then you're reading in the prophets and you come across a name, that name in the middle of the verse will jump out at you, and it'll give you a meaning that you would never see unless you know the meaning of those. This is what I've experienced and what has happened to me. But first you got to do your homework, and the homework is the study of the names, the study of the 12 sons of Jacob. So let's start with this. Now I will tell you that hopefully I can stick with giving you the basic information, because now on any one of these I can do 15-20 minutes on just on the name and how they apply in the prophets and so forth and so on. So I'll try to keep it concise. Later on I'm going to do some individual ones, but the first one is going to be Jacob or Jacob. Now this one is a little tough for me because of the way that we teach it, but let me give you what is there first, and I'll give you a little bit of insight in what I have found out later. So it says that after when he was born, it says afterwards his brother came out. This is in Genesis 25. A brother came forth with his hand. This would be Jacob came forth with his hand holding on to Esau's heel, so that his name was called Jacob or Jacob. So he's grabbing the heel, or he came after. This is what Jacob means in Hebrew. Akab is heel. That's what that means. So heel is a part of his name, part of the word. And that's kind of important because it means heel catcher, or to follow after, or he grabs the heel. When we teach Jacob to be a supplanter, a deceiver, because this is kind of what the story says, or what Esau says of him, for me that's a problem, because then that means that by deception God is still going to use you. that even when we deceive, he's when you see intentionally, then it doesn't matter to God. He's still going to wind up using you. So I don't think that's what his name means. I think his name means that because he was grabbing onto the heel, and they saw him, this is what he was named. Or he came afterwards. He followed afterward. Or the heel catcher, Jacob. In Greek or in the New Testament, it would be James. So when you have the term Peter, James, and John at the Transfiguration, or the rock is supplanted, is replaced by grace, which is the translation of those names. This is the way that we teach it, but if it simply means that it follows after, that's a different story. To replace is a different issue, and it sure can't be to deceive. Peter deceives, in essence, John. That doesn't work. So the way that we translate this is very, very important. If you follow what religion teaches you, or their light interpretations, you run into a problem. This is why you have to go into the Hebrew and see what Strong's is telling you, and go by that. That's going to have a better definition, because down the road, the way that God applies it is going to make a difference. If you translate it as deception or supplanter or a deceiver, you're going to have a problem in the application. Again, I don't believe that God will use a deceiver. I don't believe that this was something intentional. When you look at Jacob's life, and you see that he was the one that was deceived the most. His sons took Joseph, and by deception took him. Laban deceived him by switching wives on him, and you'll see that all of this is happening to him. I don't see where he has a heart in order to do this. So read the story very, very carefully. But more than that, I want for you to look at the Hebrew on this. Akab is a part of the name, and Akab means heel. So he holds on to the heel when he's coming out. So Jacob or Jacob. Okay. The second son is going to be Reuben. And it says, and Leah conceived. Leah is his mother, conceived and bore a son, and named him Reuben, for she said, because the Lord has seen my affliction, surely now my husband will love me. So one of the things that I want you to notice, when they say something and when they name him, so because they say something sometimes will apply to the name, and sometimes they're just expressing it. So this is you have to, when you look at the Hebrew, if what they said is a part of the Hebrew word, then that's the way that you would apply it. Okay, so Reuben, and it means to see the sun. So because the Lord has seen my affliction, it's only a part of it, because Ben or Ben means the sun. So Ryu means to see. So the name is see the sun. It isn't see my affliction. Okay, so that's one of the things that you'll kind of learn in here, is in order to be able to look at the name and get the application for there. So Reuben means see the sun. The second one is going to be Simeon or Shimon. And he says, because the Lord has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this and also. So she named him Simeon. And the name is Shimon. And the part of the name, or you'll see when you get the name, they usually give you a root word, and the root word for Shimon is Shama, or Shama is to hear. Now, if we had Shimon, but we added a El or Shmuel or Samuel, then it would be God, Elohim has heard. But because all we have is Shimon, we'll say that he has heard. The Lord isn't there and El isn't there. So God has heard. He has heard that I am unloved. Okay, so Shimon or Shmuel or Samuel will be Elohim has heard. Shimon is going to be that he has heard. Simon Peter, right? Okay, and then the third son is going to be Levi. Now at this time my husband will be attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he was named Levi or Levi. The second thing, or one of the other things I want you to look at, is you notice that the women are naming the sons according to their situation, or whatever situation that they're in. So Leah, even though she is the first wife, apparently is trying to get Jacob's attention. So this is one of the things when you read the story, you have to see the overlay that is there. If she's the first wife, the way that I was taught, that she had all the rights, but you'll see in the story, that each one of the women are coming from their positioning, and they're naming the sons based on the situation that they're at. So with this third son, maybe my husband will become attached to me, or this, I will find favor with him. So Levi is the name, and it means to be attached, or to hold it together, or with him he will become attached to me. This is real important when you get into the tabernacle and you find that Levi, or the Levites, are around the tabernacle, and it is by their service that they will attach Israel to the Lord. So that's why these names are real and important, or through ministry. Okay, so this is one of my pet peeves when it comes to the New Testament. We think that it's through the gifting. It isn't through the gifting. It's through servanthood. It's through the ministry. It's by doing what the Lord has said, by serving before the Lord, that the people become attached to the Lord. As soon as we add a gifting to that, then we're creating a ministry outside of that. So Levi is a real important name when you're dealing with the Levites. And in the prophets, you're going to see that when it says, when it talks about being joined or attached, you'll see this word Levi in there in Hebrew. Okay, the fourth son is Judah. This time I will praise the Lord. This is what Leah says. Leah has the first four sons, therefore she named him Judah, or Yehuda. And that name means I will praise Yehovah. You can say I will praise the Lord, but Lord in capital is in English in transliteration from the Greek that has replaced Yod He Vav He, or the name Yehovah. It's 6,800 times in the New Testament, but what we see is Lord. And after all these years, we say Lord, but it really is Yehovah, Yod He Vav He. But the name Judah is Yehuda. This is the way that you would pronounce it. So it is the fourth son of Leah. And then we have a transition. It says now we're in chapter 30. Now when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she became jealous of her sister, and she said to Judah, give me children, or else I die. Then Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he says, am I in the place of God, who has withheld you from the fruit of the womb? And she said, here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her, that she may bear on my knees, that through her I too may have children. Okay, now one of the issues here is, you see that she does, Rachel, because she's barren, does the same thing that Sarah does. Now I want you to understand that this is what the women are doing. These are their actions that so I don't know if I don't think that it is that God qualifies this, but sometimes in the things that we do, he will, it's just life. And so later on, he will take what we have done. Now remember that these children are named 400 years before they're placed around the tabernacle. So in this case, it is Rachel's frustration that she does the same thing as Sarah, that she says that take my servant Bilhah, and Bilhah, by the way, means bashful or timid. And then she says that she may bear on my knees. In other words, she's going to help her to be there as in essence a doctor, but the kids in essence will become her children. In other words, she'll take them as her own. This whole thing has to do with jealousy with Leah. So you'll see the struggles between both of them and the way that they name. It's real important to you. Sometimes we name our situations or our frustrations based on where we're at the time. So the first son that is born to her is Dan. And so she says, God has vindicated me. God has approved of me. He has indeed heard my voice and has given me a son. Therefore, she named him Dan, or Don in Hebrew is what the term means. And that in Hebrew, it means to judge or to be vindicated. Now this is one of my favorite names because if you add the el, then you'll have Daniel, or Elohim is my judge, or God is my judge. Okay, but the problem that we have is when we look at the term judge, we look at the term judge like it's someone that is going to give us the our reward or our penalty. Someone that is basically going to give us our penalty is the way that we look at it. But in this case, judge, look at what she says. God has vindicated me. He has approved. He has judged me righteously. And this is what God always does. He judges you to the good. Okay, so he takes you where you're at, and then in essence he says, finally, now remember, she's not having this kid, that it is her handmaid that is but she takes it as a vindication. She has blessed me. He has vindicated me. And so when I looked at the term judge in the Old Testament, it's always to the good of the people. So it says that that he set judges before Israel, that they would save the people from their oppressors. So the judges were there to be on the side of the people, to save the people from their oppressors. So when you look at Samson wasn't judging Israel. Samson was judging the Philistines. Every time they did something to Israel, Samson would go and make them pay the price. So judgment or judging has to do with me being on the side of the person, not judging against. So now we understand what it means in the New Testament when Jesus says, "Don't judge, lest you be judged. With the measure that you use, that same measure will be used against you." So when we judge, we're supposed to be judging people to the good, to their benefit, not against them. Or we are not the ones that hold the balances to be able to give right or wrong. Our job is always to judge them to the good, to restore them. So when you have restored an individual, to back to the Lord, you have covered a multitude of sins. So now we get it. Now you understand that judgment has to do with when you have a witness, when you're getting a witness with you on behalf of another person. Both of you are supposed to be witnessing to the good of that individual, to their benefit. So this is what judgment is. This is the way that I saw it in the Old Testament. The judges were there to bring the people back, to restore, not to condemn them, not to judge them to the wrong. So God has vindicated. He's on my side. See what he did to me. He has blessed me. That's what Dan means. That's what Daniel means. So when Daniel was put as second in command for Nebuchadnezzar, he was in second in command so that Israel would have one that judged them or took care of them, would be in their favor. He placed a ruler. Remember that Nebuchadnezzar acts like a beast for 7 years. During this time, Daniel is not going to make rules or regulations against Israel. It's going to be to their benefit. So when God judges you, he judges you to the good. enough of this condemnation, enough of this, God has put me here in order to rule over you or to judge you. No, if you're going to judge me to my benefit, judge me to my restoration, judge me the way that God has done it. He forgot my iniquities, as he forgave my iniquities, and my sins will he remember no more. That's powerful. This is the way that we should teach it. Great, huh? So the next one is going to be Naphtali, and this would be the sixth son. Okay, so this is the second son of Rachel through Bilhah. with mighty wrestlings, again, I'm wrestling with my sister. I have wrestled with my sister, and I have indeed prevailed. So she feels like she's won again, and she has two sons with Leah's four, and she named him Naphtali, or Patal. Okay, so I want you to see something here. The term. So the term patal is a root word. You don't have the naf in the front, the in at the front. So patal is the root word sometimes that you will get into the Hebrew. And then if you go look at the interlinear, it'll give you the full word. So they're in the red. That little backward C is actually a N. So Naphtali. But we'll see that patal, the root of that means to my struggles or my wrestlings. I have wrestled with my sister. So in my struggles, and she says with mighty struggles and mighty arguments, a lot of jealousy, so this is Rachel and Leah again. So she names him. He's my struggles. That he reminds me of all the fights that I have had with my sisters, but he reminds me of the fact that I won. So it's 2-4 now, right? Okay. So we have a switch here, and now Leah is it says that the Lord closed her womb. Well, she's not bearing any more children. So maybe a year or 2 years went by, and she realized that she's not getting pregnant. So then she does what Rachel did. She gets her handmaiden, and then Zilpah, and then so when she saw that she had stopped bearing, she took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife, and Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Okay, so Zilpah means to trickle as myrrh, or slow trickle, or slow boil. If you look at the Hebrew word, not going to give it to you here, but if you look at the word, this is significant because it is going to be these kids that are going to be with Joseph when he gets thrown into the lion's den. So you can kind of, mom had something a little something to do with that. Okay, so this is the first son from Zilpah. His name is called, then Leah says, how fortunate. So she named him Gad, or God. And so basically what Leah is saying is, I have help that has come, meaning Rachel went and got her maidservant. I got my maidservant. I've got a backup now. So she names him my backup, my troop. I am fortunate, a troop. I've got my helper. Help comes. And again, they're naming the kids based on the circumstances that they are at. And by now you know that all the circumstances seem to be bad. They're taking something according to them that is bad, and they're using that in order to feel good about where they're at. But it's still based out of a bad circumstance. That's important. The women will name the kids. The women will name their sons. And some 400 years later, the Lord will place them around the tabernacle. When you see their names around the tabernacle, you're going to remember some of the things that I told you. The eighth son, or Asher, is a pretty interesting one. So she says, happy am I, for women will call me blessed. So she named him Asher, or Asher. Asher means I am happy. For women will call me blessed. The translation exact is actually happy. But the word Asher has a root word that also means to be blessed, or blessed is actually Baruch, but to be content, or to be in a place of contentment, is the word Ashar, where that root word comes from. One of the interesting things that I saw is when I was reading Hezekiah, where the kings that are restoring Israel, they're bringing Israel back to the Lord, then they go to the high places. And I used to think that the high place was like on top of a hilltop or something like that. But it's actually the places, they're high, meaning that they're separated. They're separated in essence unto the Lord, or unto their own gods. The gathering places is kind of what that means. So, and it says that Hezekiah took down the Asherah poles, the happy poles, the poles where they would gather whatever idol worship that they did, or whatever instrument that they used in order to elevate their gods or to be able to worship their gods. That he took down the happy poles, the Asherah poles, the symbolism of their idol worship. That's the same term that is used there. So Asher, happy am I, for woman will call me happy, or woman will call me blessed. But it's a place of contentment. This is why the Apostle Paul says, I have learned to be content in all things, whether in trials, whether in tribulations. I'm content. I know where I'm at. That's what that term means. Hezekiah went to the high places, and Josiah, they went to the high places, or to the places where the people were being festive, where they were gathering together in order to worship not their God, but not God, but their gods. And he says, and he took down the Asherah poles, the happy poles, the happy, whatever that they were using, that they would lift up in order to make them happy. Okay, that's from this word Asher. The May Day, the merry pole, the carnival poles, whatever it was that they were worshiping, again, the Asherah poles. Okay, so then we have a switch. So Leah didn't give you the names. Leah means I am weary or tired eyes. It said that when Laban had two daughters, and Leah had droopy eyes, or tired eyes, or sad eyes. And while Rachel is called Raquel, means the pretty ewe, the pure lamb. That's what her name means. So now, in the days of the wheat harvest, we're having there's like a little story in between here that is kind of important. The first time I just kind of read through it, but I want to walk you through it to show you what I saw. Now, in the days of the wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Reuben, the firstborn, right? When Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son mandrakes." Mandrakes, the word means dodade, and what what that means is a basket. So we don't know what the basket is. Translated mandrakes, it's some sort of sweet root. Fruit from roots or something. One of the commentators says that it's an aphrodisiac plant, but they say that because of what happens after this. But basically the name means in the basket he had something, and so it was apparently something that Rachel wanted pretty badly. Okay, but I want you to notice what Leah says. But Leah said to her, "Is it a small matter for you to take my husband, and would you take my son's mandrakes also?" Okay, so that to take is the same as when a man took a woman, or Isaac took Rachel. It means to take as a wife or a husband. That's what that phrase is. So how is it that Leah feels that Rachel took her husband? If Leah is the first wife, she has all the rights. Or this is the way that we teach it. But what I want you to see here is, when you read the story, you understand then that Rachel is actually in control, because Jacob loved Rachel. So and Leah knows it, because she knows that the Lord has seen my misery, and she has seen that I am not loved. So Rachel was very aware of this. In other words, Rachel is the first wife. She is the wife that dominates in the whole tent, and you'll see this here, which is why Leah struggles with, even though she had many more kids, each one of them is based on her struggle. This is I'm trying to show you the way. And that the women ran their household. Rachel is the one that runs the household. This is why Joseph is prized. Okay, so let's keep going on there. So she's selling. Now you want to take my son's fruit also that he brought to me. But then so Rachel said, therefore he may lie with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes. And when Jacob came in from the field that evening, when Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have surely hired you. I have paid for you for the night with my son's mandrakes. So he lay with her that night. Okay, so there's a negotiation here. Jacob has nothing to do with it. This is one of the when I'm reading the stories in the Old Testament, we are taught that the men ruled everything, and I'm here to tell you that that wasn't the case. Rachel, in this case, ran this household. And when you read some of the other stories, you'll see the same thing. So in other words, Rachel sold Jacob to Leah for the night for a basket full of fruit. I mean, that's the bottom line, And Jacob, I didn't see any argument here anywhere with him, But this is when we look at this, you'll be able to see that the women, in essence, are the ones that run the household, and it's backwards here. Rachel is the second wife, but it's based out of treachery. But it doesn't matter. It's the one that you love, the one that will dominate the household. In this case, it's Rachel, the pretty ewe, the pretty lamb, the soft lamb. Leah, the tired eyes. I am weary. Okay, so then the son, after that transaction, then Leah's womb is opened, and so then she says, God has given me my wages, my reward, because I gave my maid to my husband, so she named him Issachar. In other words, because I have been good. But I thought she traded. I thought she paid for him. But anyway, but because I have been good, then God has given me my wages. So sometimes, in spite of the things that we do, I mean, for ourselves, isn't it amazing how we always judge ourselves to the good? But somebody else will always take their blessings and will judge it to the bad. So this is what she's doing. She basically paid for the guy. And becomes pregnant. So this son, Issachar, is named Issachar, my reward. So he has given me my wages. He has given me my payment because I was good. God has paid me. So if you're good, then the Lord will be good to you. There is a word here, a root word, which is sakar, that means my payment or the wages or the recompense. And that's a root word of Issachar. Okay, so we get to the sixth son of Leah. Again, she gets pregnant. And this is the son number 10 of Jacob, but the sixth son of Leah. So God has endowed me with a good gift. Now my husband will dwell with me. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons. So she named him Zebulun or Zebulun. And his name means to habitate, or my habitation is in honor. I will abide in honor. I will have a place, a habitation among men, in honor among the women. Is basically what she's saying, because of the 6 sons that she has had. We have a switch, and afterwards Leah bore a daughter and named her Dinah. Dinah is a feminine of Dan, so Dinah has to mean judge or justice. It's the feminine root word of Dan. Okay, so and this again would be the 7th child of Leah. Okay, and then God remembered Rachel, and God gave heed to her and opened her womb. So I want to stop here a little bit and deal with this verse because of the way that we teach at times. God remembered Rachel didn't mean that he had forgotten. God remembered Rachel didn't mean that this is 10 kids, probably somewhere along the line of 14 or 15 years have gone by, and then all of a sudden God remembers. No, that word zakar means to remember, but it's time. Now it's time is what it means. He knows the end from the beginning. So when you look at Zacharias and Elizabeth, who in their old age never had any kids, and then Gabriel comes in while Zacharias is giving incense unto the Lord. His name is Zacharias. His name is God will remember. Yah will remember. And so he remembered, and he says, even though you're in your old age, now it's time. But it's time because John the Baptist has to come. These are the fathers of John the Baptist. Now it's time because in 30 years I'm going to need him for him to be able to baptize the Messiah, the Mashiach. So this is what this means here. God remembered, meaning it was now time. And God said, it's now time for Rachel, and he opened up her womb. So it's a timing thing that has to happen. All these sons have to be born because the son that is coming now will be the son that he's going to use, or the two sons that he's going to use in order to take this family into Egypt. Okay, it's important for you to look at that, because if we do anything else, that he forgot, or all of, this is a special thing, or no, we have to understand God's timing, and and when you will see something that he did before and something that he sees afterwards, you will always see that there is going to be a Barnabas that is introduced before the apostle Paul is introduced. And Barnavi is the son of a prophet, a Levite. So a Levite, a son of a prophet, will go and find Paul and bring him in and work with him. Paul being a Pharisee of Pharisees, not a Levite, but a Benjamin, but he knows the word of the Lord. So he'll introduce a Barnabas, a son of a Levite, a son of a prophet, in order to share or to straighten out whatever is scrambled up in Paul's head that he was going after the church. Okay, so it's the timing. It's the timing that God has. When you read the Bible, look for his timing. This is why the dates are so important. And when you get to see that, then you'll understand that there wasn't anything he held against Rachel. It's just he needed her at this time. Yeah. And so then the first son that she has is going to be Joseph. So she conceived and bore a son and said, God has taken away my reproach. Okay, and she named him Joseph, saying, may the Lord give me another son. So she said, God has taken away my reproach. So what is this name going to mean? According to when you read, it's going to be verse 23, is going to be verse 24. When you study, this is the way that you look at it, because she's saying two things here. But always look at the name. She named him Joseph, saying, that's the one we want to look up. So Yosef means may he add to me. May he add to me another son. Now it's not Yosef ben, which is what son is, so it's just Yosef. So may he add to me. This is important. Yeah, so when you look at the name Joseph, this is going to be real important. Then the Karaf. My reproach, he has taken away my reproach. That word reproach means to peel back like a band-aid. You took the band-aid off, or something was upon me keeping me, and now he took it off, and this is the byproduct of by peeling it back. This is the byproduct of what he has. So this is the way that she felt. It doesn't mean that this is what God was doing. Which is another important thing. Because they say it doesn't mean that this is what God has done. Okay? She said God has taken, but to God it was just time. Okay, so when you read the Bible, because a prophet or somebody says, you'll have to see if God is going to verify that. So the way that we read the Bible is real, very, very important. So when we read where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, we think, oh, where 2 or 3 believers are gathered in His name. That's not what that means. If you go look at the whole verse of that whole verse is where 2 or 3 are gathered away, redoing a contract where one is releasing the other one of a payment that is fully owed to them. You owe me, But you know what? I'm gonna release you. I'm gonna release you because I see that this is affecting you, and it's for your soul, so that you may be saved. I'm releasing you. I'm freeing you from that. I'm peeling back, even though you owe me by law. So when you are doing that for the sake of salvation, then whatever you write on earth will be written in heaven, and God is in the middle of that because his name is Jehovah's salvation. Anything that you do for the restoration or the salvation of an individual, God, his name, Jesus, Jehovah's salvation, for the work of salvation, he is in the midst of that. It doesn't have to do with worship. Okay, so these names are important. The phrases are important. The way that we look at it is important. As a matter of fact, it even says in Matthew 18, it says that the angels in heaven, when one person repents, they are glee, they are happy, more happy than when 50 righteous people are together. So this where two or three are gathered in my name has nothing to do with worship. But when one repents, or when you are releasing an individual so that their frustration of them having to pay you or whatever it is that they owe you, when you release them so that you're redoing the contract, you're redoing the vow, and that's when God is pleased. And when you're writing it, he's writing it up in heaven, because you don't have to do this. They owed you. By law, you could have taken them to court. That's the whole story of Matthew 18. So these names are important, but because she says God has taken away my karaf, that doesn't mean that that's what God, this is what she's saying. But the reproach, that the term that she uses is, it's like something is peeled away from me, so that now I can be able to bear sons. And then she names him, he will give me another, he will add to me. So Joseph means he's gonna give me some more. May the Lord give me another son. So she's prophetically saying something. This is powerful when you look at. This is why when I read the New Testament, these phrases that I use come from the Old Testament, and it gives you a new dimension when you look at the New Testament. The last one is Benjamin, and it came about as her soul was departing, for she eventually died, that she named him Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin, or Benjamin. Okay, so Benoni means the son of my sorrows. Okay, so because you have the Ben, it you would have the word son, the son of my sorrow, the son of my pain, and Benjamin is going to be the son of my right hand, but the father is the one that called him Benjamin. So it's real powerful. So if now let's go back to your chart and take a look at the chart. We're going to fill in the names. So Reuben is going to be I see the sun, or see the sun. Shimon or Simeon is he has heard. Now the reason that I want you to pronounce the names in Hebrew, or I'm pronouncing them for you, is that down the road when you look at a word and it sounds the same, this name will help you to interpret that word. So get into the habit of pronouncing them the way that the Hebrew is. So Levi or Levi, joined, or adhesion, or glue, or add to, or become attached. Any of those will work. Yudah or Yehuda is to praise or to lift up. And Dan or Dan, he has judged, he has vindicated me. To the good, remember that, always. Judgment is always to the good. The way that God judges you is the way that you need to judge people. At the point that you pull out scales and you're evaluating, whatever you do is going to be done to you, because trust me, you'll fail also. So when you get into the habit of vindicating and restoring people, when you fail, you will also be restored, or you'll have the ones. It will be, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. That's the way that it works. Okay, so the next one is Naphtali. is my struggles, my wrestlings. Gad or God is troop or help comes. She gave her handmaid and she says, see, I've got help too. Rachel used her handmaid, I'm going to use mine. Asher or Asher is happy am I. Content is the root of that. And Issachar is my reward or my payment, and Zebulun or Zebulun is I will now abide. My habitation is in honor. I will abide in honor. And then Rachel's first son is Joseph, and it means he will add to. May he add to me another son. And then Benoni was named by Rachel, by the mother, the son of my sorrows, but by the father, he's named the son of my right hand. Okay, so you have all of these names. Now, what I'm going to show you is any listing that you go and look at the Hebrew, wherever you have a group of names, you can do the same thing. For whatever reason in Hebrew, it always works. There's a reason that they're lined up the way that they are. When he gives you two names, put the two names together, and then you'll get a deeper insight into whatever is there. Let's take a look at it. He says, for I see the Son, and he has heard me. He joins me to him and is worthy of praise. Having judged me in my struggles, he helps me, so I am happy. He rewards me and lets me dwell in honor, and he adds to me, and he adds me to the son of the right hand. And I left that son of sorrows because the son was renamed. You can do this with any of the names. And I went to the Colossians 4, where it gives you the name of the men that were with Paul. I try to do the same thing in the Greek. It doesn't work. This only works in the Hebrew. So you can go to the listing from Adam all the way to Abraham. The naming will work. One of the real good ones that you will want to use is in Ruth chapter 4, the listing of the lineage of David, where Boaz is in there. You can do the same thing with that. So any of the Hebrew words will work. But this one was powerful because you're going to take these names when you study the tabernacle and you see the way that they are placed. They're not placed in order, but you see the way that they're placed around there, and all of a sudden it gives you a different insight. It gives you it makes sense, in other words. And again, this is some 400 years later where God takes the name of these and places them around the tabernacle. So Levi, the tribe that is around the tabernacle, it means to be attached. So by their service, God will attach Israel unto me. They will be attached by their service, not by their authority, not by their ministry, but by their service. Israel will become attached to me. So if they don't do the service, Israel will become unattached. So he tells Jeremiah, go take a garment, go hide it, for some months. Months later, he goes back and he gets the garment. He says, what do you see? He says, well, I see the garment, but the waistline, the waistband doesn't hold anything. He says, yes. He says it was by their service. It says by the waistband they were supposed to become attached to me. By my word they were supposed to be attached to me. But it doesn't work anymore. So they have nothing to hold on to. So they cannot be attached. This is that same word, Levi. Okay, so powerful when you look at it, but it changes everything. When you go into the prophets now, you'll makes a big difference when you start looking at the names, and then you start looking at the names of the prophets and what they mean. Again, Daniel, the judgment of God, God's man at the time, God's judge at the time, God's ruler at the time is set there in order to be able to take care of Israel, not to judge them harshly, not to judge them to penalize them. He's not a prophet. He's a ruler that is set there. Okay. Let me give you one more thing that really affected me when I was looking at this. And I did the names, I worked on the names, and then one day I went back and I'm reading the verse. And Genesis 35:19. So this is when Rachel is dying, right? So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephraim, that is Bethlehem. And it came about as her soul was departing, for she died, that she named him Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, and then I start translating in my mind. I start translating the words, and I'm trying to remember what they mean. And all of a sudden, this thing came up. Okay, so the pretty lamb, which is Rachel, died at the house of bread, which is Bethlehem, from which the lamb slain from the foundation of the world, Bethlehem, was born. Just by looking at the names, you'll see his story. So in Luke 24, where Jesus is telling the disciples everything in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me has to be fulfilled. This is what he was. And if you don't know the names, you can't see this. You can't interpret this. So there is a coding in the Old Testament, and here the only one that he's talking about has to be Jesus. Okay, and one more. And the lamb slain, or now because she died, called the son of my sorrows. And after the question was, but his father named him. So I asked people, who's the father? They said, well, Jacob. No, Jacob is not the father. What do you mean he's not the father? That's not his name anymore. His name has been changed at this point to Israel, or one that has struggled with God and man and has won. So the slain lamb, because she had died, called the son of my sorrows, after struggling with God and man and survived, was renamed the son of my right hand. From this little bitty old phrase that is here, just change the names, or you can say the pretty lamb was called the son of my sorrows, named him the son of my sorrows. But after he struggled with God and man and survived, he was renamed the son of my right hand at the house of bread. So I mean, it changes everything. I wept for a while as I'm saying, why am I seeing this? Well, when you do your homework, when you abide in his word, then he'll open this up to you. But you've got to do it the right way. You can't, if you want to go look at the commentaries, that's fine. But when you look at what he has said and you translate the Hebrew language to all of this, when you translate it, then he can talk to you. It's a different dimension, and when you see it, it cannot be taken away. The Bible opens up, to in a totally different dimension. I pray that this has blessed you. God bless you.